this is the Wolf Show. I'm Wolf, and this is my show. Today we're going to be interviewing Samuel from Plot Hooks. We hope you will enjoy this interview and continue to hang out with us. And here we go. I might have to adjust the music a little bit. There we go. All right. Welcome, Samuel.
Hello, how are you?
Doing well. Ow, just hit my knee. That's a great way to start.
Was it an arrow?
No arrows in the knees.
No.
I did that 3 years ago. per the meaning of that, apparently.
Can't be an adventure anymore.
Nope.
Be a town guard.
Pretty much.
Knees busted.
Oh man. All right. So, why don't we start with kind of give me a 3,000 feet of what Plot Hooks is, because I know it's changed a lot over since I was a part of Plot Hooks regularly. Plot Hooks has evolved vastly, and so I'm kind of curious of like what is Plot Hooks right now, and then we'll dig into kind of where you came from.
No, I think right now the best way to describe it is a creation network is how I typically define it. It's not just us, not just me doing content or doing all sorts of different things where we're leading teams to do certain projects, and we're looking to branch out actually even further than we are right now. So it really is just a creation network dedicated to the art of collaborative storytelling. So primarily we're dealing with tabletop role-playing games, or TTRPGs. Generally speaking, our stuff has to do with Dungeons and Dragons, but we do have a lot of other things besides that as well. But yeah, we just create a lot of stuff to help people tell better stories. We believe very strongly in the power of storytelling. And there is a lot of stuff out there about let's DM tips, GM tips. There's lots of stuff around different monsters, how they work, how to best use this or that, ways to play the game tips, and then there's lots of actual plays too, people playing Dungeons & Dragons, Pathfinder, Call of Cthulhu, all sorts of the many wonderful TTRPGs that are out there. But what we wanted to do was really hone in on the aspect of collaborative storytelling. The fact that tabletop role-playing games as a medium is a very unique creative aspect, and we wanted to provide resources to make sure that we could have everyone be able to tell the best stories that they could. Whether that's from the GM side of the screen to the player side of the screen, providing resources to actually have great adventures with things like we do, like with our published adventures or modules,
right,
or what have you, or just tips on ways to best tell the best kind of stories. So we're just a creative network, which is just making all sorts of stuff designed to help everyone tell the best collaborative stories that they can.
That's really cool.
Really our goal and really our inspiration.
Yeah. So rolling back, because normally when I do my interviews, I ask like, how did you come up with the name and everything like that? And I do want to ask that question. but I kind of want to know because, like, when you started Plot Hooks, I was a part of it, and there was how many of us were there?
Yeah,
Like six, five or
yeah,
six of us.
yeah. It started as just I started it mainly seeking help from my Judges and Dragons group. I started it initially as a podcast,
Right.
focusing on that collaborative storytelling aspect. And we still do have the podcast. It airs monthly. Actually going to be recording the next episode coming up tomorrow.
Very cool.
So if you're one of our patrons, you'll be able to of the very rare tier or higher, you'll be able to live listen to that. We're going to be talking
That's a cool
about
feature.
Gothic storytelling tomorrow for Gothic Month, which is our theme for our content this month. So it started as the podcast, and I was hosting it and having one of you all on the show every week.
1 second. We got something making a lot of noise. Stream Raiders. Oops. I hit the start button before I realized what I was doing. Congratulations, y'all won! I was expecting to have a little bit more time. There we go. I apologize for that. I was like, wait, why did it start? I hit the button. Oh no! I know some of our people like to play the Stream Raiders and have fun with it. Alright. Oh, my camera's still hidden. You go in to do all this prep and everything like that, then you forget to do it. There we go. Alright. So, you were saying, it started out as just having people come on to your podcast.
Yeah. We wanted to, and so it started out with guests with my D&D group, and we still have some of them on periodically. Dave is on periodically. We need to get him back on, actually.
Nice.
Who is an archaeologist, and we do a lot of things relating to creating great history or great ruins, stuff like that. Again, this is something that we do to help us tell better stories, because,
right.
Finding out that sort of stuff enables us to really immerse our players into environments. It enables us to build better backstories for our world, so to speak. Builds us to build more legitimate lore, and get everything into place where it is gonna feel very authentic,
right,
and lived in.
That's awesome.
Which will just help us out with. So we, we're having lots of conversations like that. Then over time, as it just became a little bit more difficult to schedule getting together, because we did record on location for a while, it became more of a solo podcast. And then once COVID hit, it was just a solo podcast because we did record in person.
Right.
We just kept recording apart. And,
right.
Eventually started having other guests on as well, and just kind of branched out away from just the local D&D group, and just had the podcast with all sorts of different people, just to help us tell as good a stories as we could. And we just kept growing and growing until we're at where we are today.
So, what are you at now, number-wise, as people who are working with you on a regular basis for creation of your content?
Yeah, that's hard to say because our content is so disparate.
Mhm.
Yeah, I every week or every month we have a podcast guest,
Mhm.
which is a different one every month. That's usually themed around the topic
The
of the month.
topic that you're covering,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, let me see here. The
Because I also know that you have, you know, artists that you have doing stuff for you and
yeah,
writing stuff for the like source books that you guys have been
yeah,
putting together and
yeah,
stuff like that.
and that's one of the reasons it's hard to say because I lead the teams of various projects right now. I've got a project that we've been working on. I just got the cover back from it this
Nice.
morning. Got the setting map a couple of days ago. Lots of things that's going to lead into actually a Kickstarter at the beginning of 2022.
Sweet.
And we've hired a full team for that. But all of those projects are individually hired and
Mhm.
sourced. So there's not like a whole team that works on all of the projects. I do
Gotcha.
have some people that work with me on most of the projects. Um, Ken Hart is a great writer. He worked with me on Villagers and Disaster Hamsters, and will be on this upcoming yet to be announced project.
Gotcha.
Star Shinobi also did the same, and Holly Wake also did the same. And then
Okay.
we've had other people in and out. Probably goodness, upwards of uh, you know 20 different people that have come in and out as
That's
far as people that
amazing.
have worked with us. I mean, this team that we have hired for this Kickstarter is there's 10 writers, I think,
Mhm.
alone on this project. It's got to be a huge undertaking.
That's gonna be
So,
amazing. Oh, I'm really
but none of
excited for that.
yeah, I am too. But it's like no one is quote unquote on staff or working
Right,
on it
that's
full time. All of our stuff except for me and my wife.
right.
And we're the ones behind
So you're a
primarily
bit
me.
of a wheel spoke, or
Yeah.
everybody else are wheel spokes around your hub, and they kind of come and go as you need them.
Yeah, but like I said, we eventually do want to expand. We'd love to have other podcasts under our network.
Mhm.
Um, I'm interested in getting one specifically highlighting individuals with disabilities.
Gotcha.
So we, have reached out to some people regarding that, or a person regarding that. Still in the exploratory process of potentially creating that podcast. Not sure if it's going to happen yet, but definitely want to just keep growing and keep building our base and growing.
That type of podcast is or the content of a disability podcast, especially set in the tabletop RPG world at this moment, is kind of a hot topic,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
especially
and
with like what's it? It's Sarah
yeah,
Mustang,
Sarah Thompson,
Sarah Thompson, and
at
everything like
Mustangs
that.
Art on Twitter. Yeah, the person who formatted the combat wheelchair for Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, and part of what we want to do with that is not just create a platform for individuals with disabilities to feel valued and and show why these things should be accepted in our space.
Yeah.
We do want that, obviously, but to be honest, that should be a given.
Right.
What we want to do is not spend a bunch of time defending individuals with disabilities place in this space, but rather just treating them as
Given
they should be
aspects.
treated, and giving them a platform to just highlight the stories that they tell.
Right.
You know, because they should be able to just tell stories and participate in our
Of course.
space. Not even our space, in our space, meaning all of our space,
Yeah.
in a manner which is, you know, positive and accepted and uh, just like everyone else.
Exactly.
So we want them to we want to really try to foster that space. Um, and there's some stuff that's already been, you know, out there, and of course people who have created lots of awesome uh, you know, content from that vein. Jennifer Kretschmer is another one, a deaf individual. Um, she has done some awesome work. Sarah Thompson, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Holly Wake, who we have worked with in the past, who I mentioned before, is a disabled individual. We've actually had her on the podcast discussing that topic in the past.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's just one of the many things that we want to do, and that's there's lots of content from people like us
Yeah.
out there, and we're quite often the people that can do it the most easily, um, eh, because of the just some of the, you know, difficulties with income inequality for
Right.
minorities and for individuals with disabilities, not just because of the income inequality itself, but also just the expense inequality.
Right.
The fact that people with disabilities often have a lot of, you know, money going down a hole every month to, you
Of
know,
course, if you're constantly
make sure they
having
can
to
survive,
if you're constantly
and
having to buy
so,
medication and everything like
yeah.
that, that's
I mean,
medication supplies and everything like that. That's
I
gonna
mean, even something like diabetes, which should be a relatively minor disability from the aspect of,
Oh yeah.
you know, if you have access to the appropriate medications and care, you should be able to manage it with some relative, uh, you know,
Well, that's
ease is the wrong word, but the simple fact of the terrible medical system and
yeah.
the realities of the world in which we live make that not a possibility. And so even people with disabilities like that have a much harder time with things like this
Yeah.
oftentimes because of just the pure financial and time capabilities that we want to provide access for those individuals to have a space. So
Yeah.
again, this is the theoretical thinking behind
Right.
it, and we're not
This is
sure
the
if it's going to happen yet. You know, we have to find the right person to partner with, and we'll. But yeah, we would love to be able to have that space eventually.
I really hope that works out. That's one of the things that I've started following on various social media is people not just doing RPG stuff, but everything to broaden my view and my horizon of those different people and level that knowledge field of mine, you know, where it's like, you know, I have a lot of knowledge in this area because I personally exist in it, you know, and increasing our knowledge, and not only that, but like you said, making that space where it's a given, it's accepted, it's a given, it's a part of it. You get to walk into a space and never have to worry if somebody's going to question why you're there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and that's absolutely how it should be, and
Yeah.
and those people should not just be. You know, it's also important to give them a platform, and because not only should it just be normal for them to be there,
Yeah.
but we also have to be intentional about making sure that they have that access, because that's not something that is normally afforded. And we have to make sure that we're intentional about that. And that's one of the thought processes behind this endeavor.
Gotcha. So this doesn't really have a name or anything yet.
Oh,
It's
no.
still in
I
its
mean,
very infancy
yeah.
stages.
Yeah, and I'm not sure exactly what it would look like, even if it does happen.
Gotcha.
We just want to try to help out in that area,
Yeah.
as best we can.
Gotcha.
And listen too, because there could be, goodness knows, I don't have enough experience. From a very small perspective, I have some experience. I have celiac disease, and I have ADHD and an anxiety disorder, but all these things are so minor that I hesitate to even call myself like neurodivergent or any of these things like that, because compared to people that have a daily experience with even some of these same conditions in a much more severe way than I do, I still, even with people that have the same conditions as me, I can't fully understand their experience, because my abilities in those areas are not quite to the area where I would consider myself neurodivergent or anything like that. So
Gotcha.
I am certainly not an expert, which is why I don't want to host this show. I want to have someone else to do it so that it's done correctly, and so that people like me can listen and see their awesome content.
Agreed. That's one of the reasons that even on my stuff, what I'm doing, I try to stay away from certain topics and things like that, where I'll voice my opinion, but I won't try to tell anybody how they should view things or anything like that, because I know I'm not an expert. And so that makes total sense to me.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. I look forward and hope that comes to fruition and everything like that. So well, let's roll back a little bit to one of my favorite questions of how did you come up with the name Plot Hooks, and was it a collaborative effort or was it your own creation, since you are more of a loosely collaborated group as opposed to like me, I'm a singular individual, this is the name of my show, versus Plot Hooks is...
I was really just looking around trying to find a creative name. There are a lot of really good TTRPG names out there, puns related to, various aspects of various games, Misrolled Adventures. A good one. Lawful Great Adventures is a good one. Benjamin over there is awesome dude who I've had on my show several times. There's lots of great names and things that involve great puns. Ultimately, Plot Hooks is just an idea that I had, and it was one that I did not see existed in the space. Some of the ideas that you would have, I already existed, because I really wanted to have that focus on storytelling, so I looked up certain things. I was like, oh, what about riff on Dungeons and Dragons, like what about Dungeons and Drama, or like what about different things like that. And a lot of those names already were, like, I think there already is a Dungeons and Drama, there used to be, and ultimately I just landed on Plot Hooks because it is both a TTRPG trope, of the idea of adventure hooks or plot hooks or story hooks, things which grab a character and rope them into a story. And it also just provided, you know, a storytelling bent, because that's with, you know, the plot. You're pulling characters, you're pulling the party into a story, and ultimately that was just the one which fit and
Yeah.
the one we went with, and it's just, I mean, it's grown on me ever since. You know,
It
even
works.
more and more.
It works really
kinda,
well too.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
with your concept of collaborative storytelling, and now you've gone from talking about plot hooks in your podcasts and things like that to creating them yourself
yeah.
with your content that you're making for is it a Game Masters Guild where you normally
Well, the place that we normally do our Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition content that's for public sale is on the Dungeon Masters Guild.
Gotcha.
That is a website. It's dmsguild.com.
I'll include it in the recording later. So
yeah, it has it is run and licensed by Wizards of the Coast,
okay,
their company for Dungeons and Dragons. So it allows you to create fan content using a lot of their intellectual property.
Gotcha.
You don't have really hardly any limits on what you can use. Even stuff that they actually came up with and created, and they have trademarked, like original creatures like the Beholder.
Yeah.
You can use that stuff on the DM's Guild, and you can create content with it and sell it directly via their website. They, you know, they will even highlight it, put it in newsletters.
Yeah.
I mean, our last supplement, Villagers, was actually retweeted and highlighted by the official Dungeons & Dragons Twitter account.
I saw that. That was amazing.
Yeah, that was great. And that's not something they normally do. So
right.
That was something we were very proud of. There was an awesome team behind that project, and they did a great job.
Well, and Villagers is like a great concept in and all its own.
Yeah.
That you guys came up with.
Yeah, it was something that was on the back burner for a while. I actually had that idea before Disaster Hamsters, but we ended up doing Disaster Hamsters first. And ultimately, you know, Villagers eventually came back around. But we're excited that we did it. It was great. There was a lot of good reception to it. And we'll be giving away a copy of it later. So
That's
we'll
true.
More about it later.
Sounds like a plan.
But yeah, so the one thing about the Dungeon Masters Guild is they give you there's so many benefits to publishing directly through them.
Yeah.
From, you know, their own promotion, from a set website where people can go and do that sort of stuff. But there is a percentage of every sale that goes directly to them. So that's where all
sense.
of our for sale public D&D content is at this point in time. We do have a lot of content that is available on our Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
We do all sorts of stuff. You know, our calendar is full. There's like at least 2 things coming out every week.
Gotcha.
Or at least 2 things happening every week. Like this week, there wasn't 2 things coming out, but there was a poll for November's topic. There was this show, and
right.
there was one release on Thursday. So there's, you know, at least stuff happening every week.
Nice. And you guys have a pretty decent backlog of Patreon stuff from your previous releases and stuff like that.
Yeah. We when we initially started Plot Hooks, I started the Patreon at the same time, even though I knew there really wouldn't be any, you know, necessarily following of it
right
offhand. So we've got stuff, even though I didn't really do much content on the Patreon back then. It was more of supporting and doing stuff, and you get benefits related directly to the podcast. But there's been written content since probably summer of 20. I can't remember. Summer of like 2019.
Gotcha.
Say. I could be wrong.
So if somebody's
year
interested in looking at
terrible.
it now and coming in and supporting you on this Patreon and getting access to that, you know, what kind of is the broad spectrum of like what they would all get access to?
Yeah, we have 4 tiers. We have a $1, $3, $5, and $15. They are named after the Dungeons and Dragons magic item rankings.
Okay,
There's
very cool.
There's wondrous item uncommon, wondrous item rare, very rare, and legendary. So they're all named after that kind of, you know,
Yeah.
that kind of trope. There's some basic benefits that everybody gets, like access to, you know, all of our polls, all of our just random content that we post, you know, the polls for
Right.
you know, our future content, and then things like being listed on our YouTube video uploads, you know, a thanks the first time,
Yeah.
you know, our first podcast release after the after they become a patron, and then it goes up from there, you know, and adding things like we have a monthly rule supplement called the DM's Corner, which is a 5th edition rules 1-page RPG which builds on you know, some sort of rule
Right.
set based off of the content of the month. So, like, for instance, this month is our theme is Gothic.
Right.
Was voted on by our patrons. There was like 4 different options of different spooky themes that they could choose, and what they ended up choosing was Gothic. And it is essentially an extension and alteration of Dungeons & Dragons rules related to vampirism in player characters.
Very cool.
There is a little bit of stuff about that in the monster manual where you're talking about the actual vampires and
Right.
NPCs becoming vampires. But this is an extension of that, alteration of that, and just a more robust rule set for vampirism in D&D, which you know, alters a little bit about what the to more of almost like a Skyrim model of you being infected and you
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So yeah, we have that, and that's on like the $3 tier.
Right.
Everybody gets that. Then there is there are weekly releases called relics, which are magic items, but again, since we're focused on storytelling, it's not just simply the magic item.
Yeah.
It also has a focus on storytelling with that magic item.
Yeah.
There's a twice monthly release called Overheard, which has a conversation that a party could overhear, which could be a plot hook into a story. And it
that's
talks
cool.
about the 2 characters that they're overhearing. It talks about the different ways that this conversation could be used in a story, and that is twice a month. There's all sorts of benefits like early releases for the podcast,
Right.
like listens to the podcast. We always do a fun thing, and we could do it here if you wanted to play it. We always do a fun thing called O.U.F.L.F. With our podcast guests, which stands for overrated, underrated, favorite, and least favorite. And we basically pick a topic, and we go through it and say what our overrated of that topic is, our underrated of that topic is, our favorite, and our least favorite. I always have the podcast guests choose from a pop culture topic,
Right.
a TTRPG topic, and a food topic. So, like, you know, O.U.F.L.F appetizers, O.U.F.L.F fictional dogs, which is something I've been trying to get somebody to choose fictional dogs for like months, and no one wants to choose fictional dogs. Because I want to talk about favorites and least favorites and all
like fictional dogs in pop culture.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So like, you know, Air Bud is my personal least favorite fictional dog, because I can't stand the Air Bud movies. And that is, I know, sacrilegious to many of you.
It is to a lot of people, but I can understand why.
I cannot suspend disbelief enough to enjoy those movies.
You're too busy noticing all the holes.
I'm too busy noticing that a golden retriever is playing basketball. is my hang up with those movies.
The irony is I've absolutely loved those movies as a kid, and watching them.
I mean, sure.
I imagine I understand what you're talking about, though, because that happened to me in the later movies. When I'd be sitting there going, okay, this dog is, the dog was almost, probably 5-6 years old in the first movie. This is almost 10 years later. You're telling me that this 16-plus-year-old golden retriever is playing baseball or football or, because he was, what, 12 in the first movie?
I
can't remember.
No recollection of the plot of any of the movies.
I unfortunately remember all of them. We're going to take a short break right now. Our Stream Raiders battle is ready. So I'm going to boot that up and let the characters run through the map rather than accidentally starting it like I did last time. And then we will come back to talking about fictional characters of dogs. Oh, let's do this group over here. There at the bottom. So, have you ever looked into or seen Stream Raiders before?
I've not. No. It's really interesting.
It is. It's a lot of fun, and it's a fun little side thing. Oh, Smokey's back, dropping troops. Sometimes we get a lot of people playing. Sometimes we don't. It all kind of depends on who's awake they're currently going through doing a sport event is what they're doing, which is very interesting, and I don't actually understand it entirely. Not sure if we're gonna win this battle. Not entirely sure what's happening. Huh, we won. Well done, guys. Jeez, Columbo. Yeah, some people will do rewards and do Twitch redeem rewards and stuff like that. I got more war beasts. And healers. Did I complete the quest yet? Yeah. They're also going to be releasing, or have been releasing, almost RPG style, rogue RPG styles of gameplay for this.
Interesting.
It is. It's very interesting. Let's keep leveling up our tank this time. Put that there. So they actually, one of the things that they do is the difficulty and amount of space that you can lay out for certain things increases as you have more and more people watching. So the maps will actually scale to the viewership. So my maps are very small with not a lot going on, but if you log on to somebody who has thousands of people watching them right now playing Stream Raiders, the maps will be massive. And, there'll just be this giant horde of enemies, and the players are dropping their characters. And it can get very exciting when they do the versus modes, and it's two captains going head to head. So it's a fun little side game that I do. Cool. Okay, so let's do this. What did you call it? O.U.F.L.F or
O.U.F.L.F.
O.U.F.L.F.
Just the acronym O.U.F.L.F. Overrated, underrated, favorite, least favorite.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, but yeah, that is, by the way, just back to the Patreon thing. That is one of the other things that any patron gets is we play that game every time we record a podcast, and we put that back. We put it on our Patreon. So we've done with Jess and Keith from Underground Oracle Publishing, we did O.U.F.L.F. Villain tropes.
Okay.
With Graham Rose, who is the author of the Paleomythic RPG. We did O.U.F.L.F. Weapons.
Okay.
So there's all sorts of different things that we've done, and it's fun. We did pizza toppings at one point.
Oh, that's a good one. Oh, that's fun. Okay. So I'd like to keep with the fictional dogs, not only because you said nobody has gone for it, but I like the concept of the fictional dog. So you said Airbud is your least favorite
fictional dog. Yes, I know that will make some people mad.
Okay.
That is my least favorite fictional dog. What about you? What is your least favorite fictional dog?
I think my least favorite fictional dog is the evil Doberman pictures from Oliver and Company, the animated cat cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
They not only because it's an overused imagery of an aggressive, angry dog. It's your standard evil dog, but Doberman pictures aren't. And you're redepicting
classic bulldog with a spiked collar trope.
Exactly. You're stereotyping dogs, and again you're encouraging clipping of ears and tails with repeated imagery of them and stuff like that, which is horribly painful and really unnecessary. So that would be my least favorite. I recently watched Oliver and Company, and I remember watching it being like, I hate these dogs.
Yeah, I definitely understand that.
So that's least favorites for both of us.
What about overrated?
Overrated.
And this is an interesting thing because it could be something that's good. It's like,
yes,
say Star Wars. I don't think Star Wars is overrated, but I'm just saying you could say something like Star Wars is overrated because you could say it is, not quite as good as the hype.
And I think it's based on your opinion. If there's people if anytime I bring up a new video game, my wife will ask me if it's a space game or not. Because almost all of my games involve space. And she's like, it's another space game.
That kind of game.
I know, I enjoy them, but to her, space games are overrated because they just seem to come up all the time, and that's all I play. From her perspective. Let's see. I feel like as much as I love the trope, Cerberus. The three-headed dog is overrated as far as a
Sure.
You know, they make this big deal about it's this big dangerous dog, or you know, and the reaction is generally much higher than I feel like is, you know, for that type. You know, it's very commonly used, and it just seems like a lot to me. As much as I like the concept of Cerberus as the dog and everything like that, it just seems.
Is there a particular depiction of Cerberus that you are like least, that you appreciate the least?
I think even though it's not named Cerberus, I think it's the dogs from Harry Potter, where the guard, you know, Fluffy or whatever it was, where like it's clearly Cerberus guarding the underworld, like it clearly is. You know, like it would be my least favorite version.
Yeah, for me, I think overrated. I think I might say Snoopy. I was never into Charlie Brown growing up.
Oh, I can totally agree with that.
And Snoopy is just like a ubiquitous fictional dog. Like he's just all over the place, and I'm just like, yeah, he's just a dog. He lays on his
well, and I mean, anytime you're able to be the main thing of a greeting card, you know, like, yeah, no, I 100% understand that. No problem with that. None whatsoever.
Underrated fictional dog. Now, a very underrated fictional depiction of a dog is Balto.
Yes.
Because the Balto movie is great, but he is not a fictional dog, because he is a real dog. I can see his
it's a
statue
fictional depiction of an actual dog. So if you're clearly specifically talking about the Balto movie, which is not truly accurate to who Balto was as an actual dog,
yes,
then okay, yes, extremely underrated. Love the Balto movie. Got a little weird when they kept doing the sequels, but love the Balto movie. Very good. Balto falls in that category.
Scared me in that movie.
Right. Oh, he was terrifying.
It's like that scene was second to like the forest fire from Bambi,
or the fight in Lion King.
See, that one never got me as much. It was always the, like, I think I saw Bambi first when I was little, and that I still hate that movie, like even to this day. Like
because of the really fire.
I just got a really bad and uncomfortable impression of it.
Yeah.
And I still can't stand that movie.
It's an interesting concept because it's something inevitable, which I think the husky from Balto feels that way. He feels inevitable and everywhere, and doing all this stuff, and it's like you can't get away from him. You know, like you said, watching Lion King, like you know Simba's gonna win. You know, like he has to win. That's the plot of the movie. If you've never seen Balto before, you have no idea how it's gonna end. You want them to win. You know, like that's the thing, is like there's no question that Simba's gonna win and the Pride Lands are gonna go back to normal. Even the first time you watch it. The first time you watch Balto, you're like, is this guy gonna die? Like, is he gonna die, get left behind, and the other dogs are gonna have to finish the journey? Like, like it's that kind of feeling you get. You know, it's the same as Homeward Bound.
Oh yeah.
you're never sure if they're gonna actually, even if you've seen it 100 times, you're never sure if Shadow's gonna make it home. You know, like,
and that is actually like if I couldn't pick Balto, because we're saying if we were saying that he was a real dog, I couldn't pick Balto, then my underrated would be Chance.
Chance. Oh, Chance is so good. I love Chance. We love Chance. Like, as a whole family, we love Chance. He was annoying as all get out when you're a little bit older, but you love him. Oh, jeez.
Your age is defined by if you side with the cat or the golden retriever, or like as you grow older, you will side with different ones.
That's the great thing about going back and watching kids movies and like siding with other characters and realizing like my perspective has entirely changed about this movie. Isn't the most common one is when you watch Little Mermaid?
Oh yeah, and you side with the
and you side with Triton.
Right.
And you're like, no, Triton's actually right. She's a 16-year-old child who says that she's just gonna go off and do her own thing, and it's like, no, he has done nothing wrong for you to like entirely run away like this. Like, oh, you know nothing.
What about favorite? So we did overrated, we did underrated, we did favorite, we did least favorite. What about favorite? Mine is going to be, it might be cheating because technically, is it a dog? But it's the wargs from Lord of the Rings. Those are my favorite fictional
I mean,
dogs.
I will 100% accept it. They are canine.
Yes,
you know,
very canine.
You know,
especially the one that squishes Gimli is great.
The wargs from Gimli are an amazing, amazing choice. Did I say my least favorite?
I thought you did, but now I don't remember what you said.
Yeah, I don't think I actually said mine. So I know it though. My least favorite dog in fictional depiction are the Hellhounds from the Call of Duty zombie game.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because Nate
has a name, right?
Huh?
Which actually has a name, right? Because it was actually Samantha's dog. Like if you look at the actual.
Yeah, no, it's an actual like, and they're just copies and copies of her dog.
Yeah.
But the reason that they are my least favorite is because Nate and I played that game, my roommate, for years. We played that game at like midnight in the dark, and we didn't know about them. That was the thing. No, we didn't know about them. So suddenly there's these teleporting fire dogs jumping at the screen at us, and we both went backwards over the couch. It actually like scared us that bad that we both went backwards and like flipped the couch over, and like it's just this stuck memory of me that like if a flaming dog charges at me, I will go right back to that memory and I will like lose my mind and be terrified.
Yeah, most effective jump scares are when you're not expecting a jump scare.
Like, and the thing was, it never got better. Like, a lot of times, like, you get used to jump scares, you never got used to the dogs. Ever.
Yeah.
Like, we would both panic.
The dog's original name was Fluffy.
Really? Really? Fluffy? Oh,
it's like
man.
Disaster Hamsters, where the evil displacer kitty is his name is Snuggles.
I'll need to ask you more about Disaster Hamsters in a minute. All right, so favorite depiction of a dog is what we're on.
Yeah, just wargs. I think I'm just gonna stick with wargs. I mean, there's other good dogs, but I mean, the unfortunate fact about a lot of fictional dogs is that unfortunately, oftentimes the story is either is either very sad,
Yeah.
which makes them not your favorite, like an Old Yeller story or a Where the Red Fern Grows story.
Yeah.
Or they're just like annoying to me, like a cartoon dog like Brian from Family Guy,
Mm-hmm.
or
Yeah.
stuff like that. And so there's not actually a lot that I actually like are in the running to be the favorite.
Yeah.
Like I could flip-flop, I could flip-flop Chance in there. Instead of saying he's underrated, I could say he's my favorite.
Right, yeah.
But yeah.
So, I would say my favorite dog currently is Mouse from the Dresden Files series.
Interesting.
He's a I don't think he's an actual dog breed. But his style in the books is based off of like Tibetan Mastiffs. And he's like a Chinese, or the Chinese, no, he's actually based off of the Chinese temple dogs that you see statues of, where like people often confuse them for lions, but they're actually dogs.
Yeah, like the ones in they were in Shang-Chi. Have you seen Shang-Chi?
I haven't seen it yet, so I'll probably recognize it.
They are in Shang-Chi. Those creatures, they have a bunch of creatures from Chinese mythology.
Gotcha. But yeah. Mouse is a descendant of a demon dog, and they're an amazing guardians. And one of my favorite lines is a bunch of characters get turned into dogs, and they can actually hear that Mouse can actually talk. They just can't understand him as humans.
Yeah.
And this Fae tells him, like, you have no power here, when he tells her to turn him back to humans. And he's like, I live with a wizard, I cheat. And I was like, the first time I heard that, I was like, yes! It's just like, but he's this incredibly powerful, quiet character that's just this constant through the stories. And cool. He's a very cool dog. So
I've never done anything with Dresden Files.
It's a fun book story. It's very good if you enjoy a lot of consistency of rules to the magic in your book stories. And if you like characters that really truly grow over time. It is, unfortunately, and I don't like this as much, it is written in the era of hypersexuality of characters. There seems to be a running theme in fantasy urban storytelling of hypersexualization of everything, and that progressively, as the character and writing story of Jim Butcher grows over time, that lessens considerably as the character, and I feel like as his writing grows. But the early ones are just way out there, which is my only kind of negative from the storytelling, because I'm not
sure.
It's not my cup of tea when it comes to books and stories.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, but what was your favorite thing?
Just the wargs.
The wargs, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I was making sure I remembered. Well, that's fun. I'll definitely pull this little section, and if you want to post it to your Patreon for your
or even post this one directly online. Make sure that everybody sees that this is kind of what it is.
Yeah, that was cool. That's a cool little, like, and that's a fun exercise to get your brain kind of moving and to think of stuff.